Hi people, welcome to the Run Test. It's Kieran here, and in this video we're putting two of Saucony's big new launches up against each other. We've got the new plated trainer, the Kinvara Pro, and that's going to go up against the even newer and even cheaper non-plated Triumph 21. Now if you've been considering these two shoes, we're here to help you work out which of them is best. In the next 10 minutes or so we'll tell you what we think of both shoes. We'll cover which one, if any, we think you should buy. Plus we'll also share recommendations for any alternatives. So hit play to get our verdict on the Saucony Kinvara Pro versus the Saucony Triumph 21. First up, some quick details then. Well, the Kinvara Pro come with an 8mm drop. It's the highest stacked shoe in Saucony's daily trainer lineup, with 42mm in the heel and 34mm in the forefoot. The Triumph 21 by contrast has a 10mm drop, so it's slightly higher, but it's got a lower overall stack with 37mm in the heel and 27mm in the forefoot. When it comes to weight, in our UK men's 8.5 test size, the Triumph 21 weigh in at 9.9 ounces or 281 grams. The Kinvara Pro comes in at slightly heavier, 10.03 ounces or 291 grams. On price, the Kinvara Pro are amongst the most expensive daily trainers, going at £200 or $180. The Triumph 21 are a bit cheaper, but still pushing that top end price, £170 or $160 in the US. Now then, on to a quick shoe whip round. Midsoles first then. The Kinvara Pro has a dual foam midsole with Power Run PB foam close to the foot for more energy return and Power Run close to the ground for a bit of stability and durability. There's also a Power Run Plus sock liner in there to add a bit of softness on landings. There's a 3/4 length carbon fibre plate sandwiched between those midsole layers, and you've got Saucony's trademark speed roll geometry to the shoe as well. There's also a notably kind of wider heel at the back. It flares for more stability. That compares to the Triumph 21, which have a Power Run Plus midsole and sock liner, and there's no plate. Onto the uppers then. In the Kinvara Pro, you've got an engineered knit upper. On the Triumph 21, you have got a flat knit upper. The Triumph has soft, medium kind of padded heel collars and pretty plush padded tongues as well. Those tongues are fully gusseted, so they go right down into the shoe. Meanwhile, the Kinvara Pro offers a little bit less padding in the heel and a thinner tongue. The tongue is also half gusseted. Overall, they're still pretty cushy, but just a little less than the Triumph. Flip them over, and the Kinvara Pro have done away with the outsole rubber. Instead, it's got an exposed Power Run outsole with these kind of cut grooves. It's not unlike the Under Armour Velocity shoes that we've seen. That's there to save weight. Meanwhile, the Triumph 21 has a good covering of outsole rubber overall.
So in terms of fit, I would say the Triumph 21 has been a better fitting shoe for me in my runs in general, and I've got both of these in a UK size 8. The Kinvara Pro is definitely a more narrow fitting shoe. Obviously this is a shoe that wants to allow you to go and run fast in it, but also kind of ease off in it as well. But I did find that on the Kinvara Pro that it felt a little bit tighter on the sides of my foot, and I did find it a little bit uncomfortable on longer runs, whereas I think with the up on the Triumph 21, definitely, create something naturally that is a little bit more spacious, a little bit more roomy, and I think up front in the toes, but also the sides of my foot, I had no kind of discomfort from that point of view, and I found the fit a lot better on the Triumph 21. I think elsewhere the laces are very similar. You've got definitely more padding on the Triumph 21's tongue, which definitely, obviously a little bit more comfort, makes sense. It's a longer, easier run as well. Level of kind of padding on the heel collar, definitely pretty similar from that point of view. So elsewhere, generally fine. I just found at the front of these shoes, the narrowness of the Kinvara Pro a lot more than I did on the Triumph 21, which naturally is a little bit more roomy and spacious just because of the types of runs, the types of distances that I think this shoe is designed for compared to the Kinvara Pro.
So the fit for me in both of these shoes, these are both size 8 UK. I'm a size 8. I find them both fine, very comfortable. I definitely wouldn't size up or down in these shoes. I've not had any issues with them at all, so I would stick to my size in the UK in these shoes.
Fit then, and I ran a UK 8.5 in both of these shoes, which is my usual size, and I think they come up ever so slightly along in the toe, or at least they're a bit roomy lengthwise. But if you like a good inch between your piggies and the end of the toe box, that'll be a really happy thing. They've definitely got that room, can be good for going long and a bit of kind of swelling and stuff. On the run I had no issues with that extra room, so I'd be happy to recommend going true to size in both of these shoes. Onto the run test then. In the Kinvara Pro, I've run just short of 25 miles, including a half marathon test, with a mixed kind of pace from slow and sluggish up to marathon pace. In the Triumph 21, I've done just short of 30 miles, and that included a 1 hour 45 half marathon test. But overall in testing, I've done similar mix of paces in both from slow through to marathon pace and up to all out mile pace. And I've used them on a mix of terrain, plenty of roads and tarmac, and some light river paths, kind of off-roading. I also did a side-by-side mile with one of these shoes on each foot to really compare the feel, and here's how I got on. So I've just done the side-by-side mile with the Triumph 21 on the right foot. I've got the Kinvara Pro on the left foot. And here's a few things that I've noticed doing that side-by-side. First thing, when it comes to the uppers, the Kinvara Pro is a little bit more structure, which means that they hold a little bit more tightly, a little bit more securely. There's just a little bit more room, wiggle room across the top of the toes and generally into the toe box, I think, in the Triumph 21. So if you like it marginally roomier, then you might want to go for those over the Kinvara Pro. Otherwise, the overall kind of comfort and the step-in comfort on both of these, I think, is excellent. I think they both feel really good the moment you put them on. There's a similar kind of feel in terms of the way the heel collars wrap and hold securely. Lace down is all the same to me, really. I think there's not much to choose there at all between those two when it comes to that comfort. And then you get into the ride, and this is where it gets really interesting, because obviously the Kinvara Pro came out first with that carbon plate, that sort of higher stack of foam, and you were thinking this is going to be a snappier, faster shoe, daily trainer, super trainer, call it what you want. Then the Triumph 21 came along, and actually there's very little to choose between them. Even just doing that mile around, you can feel the higher stack on the Kinvara Pro. It's a little bit kind of more pillowy, a bit more marshmallow. It's a bit softer, and for me it's a bit sinkier, a bit saggier, and a bit more sluggish actually. I thought that would have kind of an injection. It might have a bit more spring back, and you really feel the combination of that higher stack and that plate working. But I don't really get it. Not too much. Even when I pick up the pace, particularly over the Triumph 21. The Triumph 21 feels a little bit firmer, a little bit more direct. It comes back quicker in terms of its response. And actually, I think it feels a little bit lighter. It feels, to me, a little bit racier as a result. And that's where I think this Kinvara Pro sort of throws up some interesting dilemmas. A lot of people sort of saying not really sure what the shoe is for, and I kind of concur with that. It doesn't really feel like a snappy Speed 3. If anything, I think that the Triumph 21 feels more akin to the Speed 3. Yeah, it sort of feels like a cruising shoe to me. It's like a slow, easy shoe. And if anything, the Triumph 21 feels a little bit more light and agile and a little bit more speedy, and something that you feel like you want to run faster in. I think the other thing that you get in the Kinvara, though, compared to the Triumph 21, is maybe the footbed feels slightly wider, and it feels like it kind of cradles the foot a little bit more. You feel like you sort of sink and are held a little bit. It's super comfy, you know, that makes for good comfort under the foot, but I'm not sure it makes for the most kind of responsive ride. You don't get quite as much kind of cradling in the Triumph 21. It just feels a little bit more stripped back, a little bit more ground contact coming up. I personally prefer that. If you like a little bit more cushion, maybe you'll prefer the Kinvara Pro, but I quite like the directness of the Triumph 21. The Triumph 21 is definitely a shoe that I prefer for its overall kind of firmness. Now obviously they've got different outsoles as well, and in the tests that I've done, I haven't really found too much difference in terms of the grip. Obviously the Kinvara Pro have that exposed outsole. There is no outsole rubber. The Triumph 21 have that kind of standard rubber outsole grip. I haven't run in anything particularly crazy wet though, so I haven't put it through sort of any severe tests, but overall I don't think there's too much to choose between them on that front. Now the other thing to mention, the Kinvara Pro have that kind of slightly flared heel. It's bigger, it comes out of the shoe a little bit wider around the back of the heel. Triumph 21 a little bit narrower. I think that definitely kind of aids stability. I feel like despite you've got that kind of higher stack, I actually think the Kinvara Pro are marginally more stable than the Triumph 21 overall. That's also partly because you've kind of got that cradle that I mentioned as well from the kind of footbed.
So in terms of that run test, now there's definitely some overlap in terms of the types of runs these shoes are designed for. Ultimately, the Kinvara Pro is aiming to be a versatile shoe, one that you can run quick in, run that you can, you know, ease off and run some slower, kind of easier paces in as well, but also do some kind of tempo style running in it as well. Whereas the Triumph 21 is all about kind of comfort, protection, you know, those longer recovery, easy paced runs. That's the type of runs that you are looking to do in this shoe. Now, in terms of the Kinvara Pro, now obviously in terms of running fast in these shoes, the Kinvara Pro feels naturally a lot nicer for that, but ultimately what I found in my faster runs is that I've started to feel the weight of the shoe, particularly the kind of latter stages of my run. And obviously it's nice that you've got that kind of speed roll kind of geometry. I think a good level kind of ride and transitions, getting you quickly through that motion, which is kind of what you want, and you don't have to do it with a huge amount of effort. But ultimately, I do think you feel the weight of this shoe when you are running quicker. When it comes to running longer, and that's where these kind of shoes kind of overlap, and those kind of easier, slower runs, I found that the Triumph 21 has been a bit better for me. I think from an upper point of view, it just feels more roomy, more spacious, the kind of room that I'd want in a shoe and comfort that I want in a shoe for going, running longer, running easy in this shoe. As I said in the fit section, I definitely found the more narrow fit of the Kinvara Pro more noticeable on my longer runs, and you can run longer in this, and it's generally been fine apart from those issues. But I do think in terms of what you're getting here from the Triumph 21, it's built for those types of runs. Now, in terms of if you want to run quick in the Triumph 21, I do think you can slightly pick up the pace. You've got enough kind of bounce in that midsole. I think you've got enough of a kind of rockery feel in there to make it feel enjoyable to run a little bit longer and feel like you're running nicely in this shoe. But ultimately, again, the weight of this shoe doesn't really lend itself in terms of running quicker in it. But I don't think it's a shoe, or Saucony has designed a shoe to be that type of shoe, whereas with the Kinvara Pro, it definitely is built to run a little bit quicker. But ultimately, for me, I found it just runs a little bit too big, a little bit too heavy for me, and I found that an issue and put me off running quicker sessions generally, because I knew that it would be harder work longer into the run. Now, elsewhere, I think outsole wise, I definitely think you're getting a bit more in terms of the outsole. Definitely different outsoles. The Triumph 21 feels one that I feel more comfortable to maybe go and do a little bit of kind of lighter trail action in it. It definitely feels well built for kind of durability. I think the Kinvara Pro is definitely kind of set up like grip and traction wise. It's been absolutely fine in general. I've been on kind of dry roads generally in these shoes, and they've been absolutely fine. But I think from a durability point of view, I think I would be more confident in the Triumph 21 going a little bit longer for me, just because it's a shoe that is designed for those types of longer runs as well. So I would be expecting a level of durability that's a bit better than Kinvara Pro, but I haven't seen any kind of worrying kind of signs of wear in either of these shoes really. So that is a positive for me. But ultimately, I think in my run test, I think you can definitely run a little bit quicker in the Kinvara Pro, but ultimately I think that weight counts against it overall in terms of when you want to run harder in it, even though it feels more natural to run quicker in it. And I think the Triumph 21 has just generally felt more comfortable for me to run longer in, and the types of runs it's designed for, I think it really excels in, and there's scope to run a little bit kind of quicker pace in it, not speed work kind of level, but a moderate kind of pace. I think it's absolutely fine based on my testing.
Okay, so I'll start with the Triumph 21. Triumph 21 and the Triumph 20, very similar shoes. The only difference is the upper in the Triumph 21. So really, I might as well be talking about the Triumph 20 as well. So we're taking that into consideration if you're looking to pick a pair of these up. The Triumph 21 is a fantastic shoe. The Triumph line used to be classed as a max cushion shoe, but now it's becoming more of a daily cushion shoe, really. And it's very good at that. It still veers more towards the cushion side of things, but it's just a little bit more versatile. The midsole foam in it is nice, just a little bit of bounce in it. It's nice and soft. It's responsive. You get a lot of energy in it for a cushion shoe. And I used the Triumph 20 for a lot of training last year as part of my marathon training. It was just very good for long runs. But I could also use it for runs where I was going a little bit faster as well, because it just has a little bit more to it. It's very comfortable. There's a nice turnover in it, and I just really enjoy this shoe. I think it's probably getting there as the perfect cushion trainer. And if you're the sort of runner that maybe has just started running, or you're a general runner and your main focus is comfort, and maybe you've been doing a marathon but you want something to get across the line in comfort, the Triumph 21 is a great choice for that. It really does a lot of those things well. The only difference with the Triumph 21 is the upper in comparison to the Triumph 20, and it's just been made to be a little bit more breathable. I prefer the upper in the 21, but it's a negligible difference to the Triumph 20. Saucony Kinvara Pro is an odd shoe. It's almost looks bigger than, well, it probably is. It does look bigger than the Triumph 21 to me. But it's a very dense shoe. It feels very hard, very firm. That midsole is very, very plasticky. And I've not really worked out what this shoe is designed for. It's definitely not an easy run shoe, because it's just too firm for that. It doesn't feel comfortable. I wouldn't like to do long distance runs in this shoe. It's not really a daily trainer either because it's quite cumbersome. You can't really just bang out lots of miles in it without it feeling like you're carrying a lot around on your feet. And I raced in this shoe as well. I did 10k, Brighton Phoenix 10k in this, and I'm just coming off injury, so I wasn't going at full pace, and I'm quite glad about that because my normal pace is about 38 minutes 10k's, but I did a 45 minutes because I was taking it relatively easily. And this shoe just didn't have any speed in it at all. It just felt like it was slowing me down. It felt very cumbersome on the feet. That really firm midsole just felt like it was just deadening the motion as I was running. It was just stopping me dead in my tracks, and there was no benefit from it at all. I don't feel the plate in it. I don't feel like the midsole. There's a dual density midsole layer here. I don't feel like I'm getting anything from it. There's no bounce, and it definitely doesn't feel like it's helping me accelerate in any way. So yeah, I don't really know what this Saucony Kinvara Pro is for, and for me, I've not really found a benefit for it. Whereas the Triumph 21 is a really solid, just all-round cushioned to daily trainer, which I just love wearing.
Now my verdict then, I'm going to come out and say it straight. If you're choosing between these two shoes, I think you should buy the Triumph 21 and save yourself £30. The Kinvara Pro haven't been a hit with the run testers. I personally don't dislike the shoe. I'm just not sure it adds much, and certainly not at that price. For me, the Triumph 21 offers just as much in terms of comfort and ride. It feels a little more agile and nimble on the foot. I think it actually feels less sluggish despite the lack of plate and lower stack, which is interesting. When it comes to other alternatives you might want to consider, I think there are plenty. I think the Speed 3, Saucony Speed 3 is an obvious starting point. It's a lovely shoe with a plate. It's nice and poppy. It's lighter, it's livelier. It's probably better at top pace than both of these shoes. I personally prefer the Mach X to both of these as well. And if you like things a little bit more direct, that could be a good choice for you to look at. I've not tested them personally as well, but I know that Nick is a big advocate of the Adidas Boston 12. And that is another option to look at here also.
So my verdict on these two shoes, probably pretty obvious. Saucony Triumph 21 is probably up there with the, for me, as my favourite cushion shoe at the moment. It's up there with the New Balance More V4, which is probably fighting for that top spot, but for different reasons. The More V4 is a little bit chunkier. It's a little bit better for easy runs for me and really slow runs. Triumph 21 is a bit more versatile, so I sort of use it for different things, but I really like both of them. But I definitely go for this shoe any time over the Saucony Kinvara Pro, because Kinvara Pro, I just haven't found a use for it. I don't enjoy running in it. I haven't found the run that works for it out of the training runs that I've done in it, and it just feels so big and clunky. And I've loved many of Saucony's shoes over the past couple of years. There's been some absolutely fantastic ones, really innovative designs. This just I don't see where it fits in. I don't know how it came about, because I can't quite work out what it's for. So yeah, definitely going for the Saucony Triumph 21 out of these two shoes.
So verdict, would I get the Triumph 21 or the Kinvara Pro? I think we know how this is going to go now. I think for me, with the Kinvara Pro, I do think it is a shoe that you can run quicker in. I do think it is a shoe you can ease off in as well. It has more versatility, but ultimately what holds it back in terms of being a shoe that I think really excels is it's a big shoe. You do feel the size of this shoe. Now, ultimately, that is a problem here, I think, for me, and particularly for me in terms of really enjoying running in this shoe. But I think, you start off, it feels pretty good. I think all the characteristics you want in a shoe to be versatile is there. And I think ultimately the weight and the size of it really counts against it. And that hasn't really changed for me in terms of my runs. Now, in terms of the Triumph 21, this is a shoe that's not saying it wants you to run quick. It's saying it wants you to take it easy, go slow, keep it comfortable. But also, you can, in places, pick it up if you want to. You're not going to do speed work in it, but you can run a little bit more of a breezy pace in this, I would say. And I think in terms of the types of runs this is aimed at, it excels at, and it's a shoe that ultimately is going to stay in my rotation because of that. Because if I want a shoe for kind of, longer kind of recovery style runs, easy runs, this is where this shoe excels. And I think even though, looking at the size of shoes are not small shoes, and in terms of you can run easy and slow in this, I think it just feels a lot nicer. It feels a lot more comfortable. I think the upper it lends itself better though to those types of runs, and I do think you get a bit of versatility out of it as well, but ultimately not what you're going to get on the Kinvara Pro. But for those kind of reasons, I think, you know, the Triumph 21 for me is the one that's going to stick in my rotation. I think the Kinvara Pro tries to do a lot of things, but ultimately I don't think it massively excels in any particular area. And ultimately, as I said, I've kind of, you know, enjoyed elements of my runs, but ultimately the whole experience hasn't been fantastic, and it hasn't been a shoe that's kind of, I felt I want to go out and put this back on and run it in immediately, because as I said, you know, I do feel the size of the shoe when I've been out on trying to do some slightly quicker stuff. And I think in terms of the slower kind of easy runs, this is a better shoe to do that, and that is the shoe that I think people should go for. And just keep in mind that the types of runs that this shoe is designed for, whereas, you know, the kind of claimed versatility you do get on the Kinvara Pro, I just don't think it feels amazing. And I think there's probably, you get other shoes that can do that job and do the kind of slower stuff as well, like the Triumph 21 too.
So there you have it. That has been our head-to-head of the Saucony Kinvara Pro and the Saucony Triumph 21. I hope you found that useful. If you have any questions, hit us up in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe and ring the bell for more content coming up on the channel soon. There'll be lots more head-to-heads with both of these shoes amongst the daily trainer kind of plated market. We'll be looking at both of those. Yeah, there is other content on the channel as well. If you're looking for a full review of the Triumph 21, that will be appearing on the channel just about now. Otherwise, it's been a pleasure to talk to you about these shoes, and we hope to see you again soon on the run tests. Happy running, everyone. Good luck with whatever it is that you're doing out there, those times that you're chasing and those run goals that you're trying to hit.